looking at your business, thinking about your life, asking yourself the question, where am I showing up? Where's my ego, my pride right now showing up? Where is it leading me into the corner? I love how you said that. If you feel cornered, you're pinned in the corner, check the ego.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast, chiropractic's #1 business podcast. Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And as always, we are stoked to be with you guys. So we show up stoked. That is our default. So this is our weekly wellness workshop. Like we teach you guys, is like, you've got to do your workshop every week. You've got to land on a message that if you didn't share your message, your head would explode. That's what this is for us, right? So I teach our clients that they should run their practice from workshop to workshop, not from Monday to Monday, right? Running your business from Monday to Monday is a terrible idea. Run your business from workshop to workshop. Watch what happens when you crescendo your energy towards that. And Dr. Pete, I know that that's true for you. This is my workshop, right? So I like to say that we run our work week from studio time to studio time, right? To be able to share this message with our beloved chiropractic. What an honor, what a pleasure to work with such a pro like you, Dr. Pete, and share such an incredibly important message. I consider it the second most important message in town. What an honor, and I'm stoked to get after our conversation today. We're going to have a challenging conversation for the owners out there. It's one that comes deep from our own experience and right out of our own scar tissue around screwing this up ourselves. But it's the lesson that we want you to walk away with today is understanding that what's good for your ego is probably bad for your business.
I'm going to repeat it. What's good for your ego is probably bad for your business. I want you to think about this right now because, when people walk into the office, what do we say to them? Hey, leave your stuff at the door. Like, leave it at the door. When you show up ready to serve, show up ready to work, right? That's what we would, it's kind of like a general rule. And I think probably any business, and it's way harder today, guys, by the way, because people take their life in with them. It's in a little box that sits in their pocket. And it's like really hard to quote unquote leave your stuff at the door because the stuff just keeps buzzing in your pocket and it keeps tracking you down. But the reality is, Dr. Stephen, while we have that expectation of our team that they would remain focused to be able to serve, when it comes to you and I and us as a leader, this is our leaving it at the door. You got to check your ego and leave it at the door. When you show up on Monday morning, when you show up to your team meeting, when you show up to your board meeting, when you show up to fill in the blank, moving forward, I'm going to challenge all of you because this is a self study. Like, you got to check yourself. Nobody else. This is deep inner work. Like, this is only you kind of know where you're at. I mean, probably people around you know, people that are close can tell because you can see the symptoms, the evidence. We're going to get into it a little bit today. Some practical ways where you might be able to identify if I'm actually being led by my ego right now. Is this a ego-centric, driven conversation or energy or mindset? And guys, so much of the life that we have in your business, the challenges you may face are actually the consequences of the invisible becomes visible. And this is the invisible that will become visible. And so this is a deep conversation, Dr. Stephen. Now, I want to share something that as we were prepping for today, I wasn't going to share this, Dr. Stephen, but I am. And it was actually something I've been just meditating on and actually came from some time with prayer. And this was last week, actually. I did a 21-day fast actually to start the year. And it was during the fast that I got this revelation. And the revelation was simple. And the message is really simple. I'm just going to share a few things from my journal. It was the message is the price of pride. The price of pride. A couple thoughts. Number one, when you have pride, okay, pride and ego, I'm seeing them as a bit connected right now. Okay, so
100%.
is number one is it robs you of your peace. See, when if we said, man, I would just love to have peace in my life. I would love to have peace in my business. I'd love to have peace in my marriage. I'd love to have peace in my finance. I'd love to have peace in my health. Right? Like peace. And I know how important peace is to the Fransons, and I know how important it is to me. But what came to me was like, man, the price of pride. One of the prices of pride is it robs you of your peace. And so if you found yourself being lacking peace, maybe you've been struggling with some anxiety, some fear, some worry, some anger. I don't know what the emotions are that would counter your peace, the things that would rob you of your peace, whatever the counterfeit, the replacement of peace is. Pride or ego might be the thing that's getting in the way. Number two is, and there's some deep things in here that I might not get into, but one of the things that I felt was it cuts off the fullness of my goodness. In other words, we talk about above, down, inside out, right? We tell our patients, I'm not the healer, right? I move the bone, God does the healing. We say, my job is to identify and correct the subluxation. Your body is designed to take that and heal itself. The body is created with an intelligent design. And what pride does is it subluxes you. It cuts you off from the fullness of the goodness. It cuts you off from the fullness of what's possible to receive in your business and in your life. And so in ego, and this, guys, this doesn't just apply to your practice, by the way, and I know you all know this, but it applies to every area of your life. If you've got ego in your finances or ego in your health or ego in your, that thing is going to come back around. It's going to get you. And I'm saying to you, we're saying today, like, hey guys, let's just, as leaders, raise our hand and say, you know what? I need to check my ego somewhere. There's probably an area or two in my life, in my business, that's affecting me, affecting the business, affecting my life, where I probably got to check into that. Dr. Stephen, I wasn't thinking I was going to go down this path, but I figured I'd just go here because I know we're going to get practical, but I just want to share what's on my heart. This is fresh revelation that I just received during the 21 days of fasting that I started 2025 with. And it was like one of the things I got. And I thought, man, that's awesome that we're talking about this, because I'm just marinating. I'm just letting this thing, I'm going to sit with this probably for the next 6 months and try to figure out what all this means. But I'm just saying, man, there's a price of pride. There's a price of ego. I don't know what it is, but it costs you. And so what we want to do today on this, in our conversation, is just say, hey guys, let's identify where that might be the case. And let's start making some adjustments, right? Let's start making some adjustments, because on the other side, it's going to be, there's just going to be so much life.
Well, a maxim of the remarkable practice is heart, head, hands, feet. So what you did was set the table for the heart of this, right? So to go from conceptual to practical, we can go into the head, right? So what does this look like? Okay, so how does this show up in my practice? And, exactly how am I doing that, right? Walking that out, and then what can I do to change? And then let's get to work with it, right? So heart, head, hands, feet. The heart of the matter here is that it is a heart issue, right? So ego is a heart issue, and pride is a heart issue. And then frankly, it's our default, right? That's how we're hardwired. This is our brokenness as humanity, right? So you're just showing up with pride and ego, right? That's just your default. If you're not thinking about it, if you're not aware about it, guess what? You're walking that out, right? So this is just a moment maybe to check yourself, on your awareness, right? So because I was wandering in the wilderness with this one for a long time. So the first 10 years of our business and our practice, I had no idea that what I was doing, as far as the damage I was doing, being ego driven and pride led, and I got to a point in the business and the practice where I had a come to Jesus moment with just complete burnout, being smoked, being maxed out. And I had painted myself into a corner. Mm-hmm. quite literally, right? So, as we had this big pump in practice, and I had myself positioned, Franson Family Chiropractic, because everybody wants to see Franson. Of course, that felt good. That was good for my ego. Right. So, and he's the head doc, and his wife, she's in and out of the practice having kids. So I guess he's the head guy. Okay, yeah, that's great. That's good for my ego, right? So, you want to see Dr. Franson? Oh, that's good for my ego. It's like, all the new ones want to see you, and all the existing patients and the veterans want to see you, and there's some patients who will only see you. Oh man, did that feel good for my ego, right? So I had associate doctors to all lined up, to learn from, from the guy, from the man, from Dr. Franson. I'm like, oh, that was good for my ego. And of course, everybody's like, oh, wow, all these doctors here to study for you. Good for my ego, right? So guess what happened, Dr. Pete? So that broke me, right? So at the end of the day, I had painted myself right into this corner that was not sustainable. It was not scalable. By definition, was not durable, and ultimately was not transferable because of the dynamic that I had created. Although it was good for my ego, it was bad for my business. And it showed up in so many ways. This isn't a someday pain thing. This is a Monday pain thing. Okay. So this is hurting you right now. Right. So if you make it about the adjustor, not the adjustment, I'm talking to you. If you make it about the chiropractor, not the chiropractic, I'm talking to you right now. Right. So if there's an 80-20 rule in your practice where 80% of the patients will only see you, I'm talking to you right now. Right. So, and, if you've made some of the mistakes or more in this, and there's a countless list, right? So I spent 10 years building this dynamic and spent the next 12 years undoing it. Right. So I can just hopefully speak into you right now. Do not do that. Right. So this restrictions, the capacity issues associated with a solid white line practice versus a broken white line practice. This is how this stuff manifests, guys. Like this is the manifestation. This is how this shows up, right? So, and this is not just going to kick your ass one day, which I promise you it will. It's kicking your ass Monday, right? This is absolutely a constraint of your business. This, although feels good right now and is something that probably feeds that dog, right? So that pride, that ego, what's good for your ego is bad for your business.
And, it's possible, as you were sharing, Doc Steven, about, let's say the first 10 years, and paint yourself into a corner. It's a slow burn for a lot of people. It's a long process to get to this point until you get to that break point, right? For you, maybe let's say around 10 years or something. And then you spent the next 12 years fixing it, Cool thing. I want to share this as an encouragement to everybody who's listening. And I'm seeing this now, Dr. Steven, more with the doctors who we're serving in the remarkable practice, who are having this epiphany sooner, and they're actually able to avoid a lot of the pitfalls. And like you said, our scar tissue is where we always speak from. It's not coming from, trust me, we're coming in, we're crawling in.
We are limping into the room.
Yeah. I barely made it to the door. I'm just on my knee. I'm pulling the door just to get into it. And so, but to see the and this was actually the fruit of it, and the desire I know of your heart, my heart is, man, we said, hey, we gotta serve chiropractors. We gotta serve the profession of chiropractic. This is too much. There's too many things that we've learned that we can't just keep this to ourselves. Like, we need to share this with everybody. We need to get the message out. Therefore, the remarkable practice, right? The remarkable CEO program. It's like, now it's this podcast. It's like, this all birthed from like, whoa. That was a lot. That was painful. That was hard. That was, whoa. And I did that to myself in many ways. Like, wow. Like, we could actually prevent this from happening if we could get ahead of it. Our CEO program, the first course you go through is the CTS. What does CTS stand for? CEO Transformation System. I'm not going to break it all down. Each word means something, but this idea of you going from an owner operator to a CEO identity. Identity is deep. Identity is a core issue, right? It's at the core. It's deep. It's below the surface. It is deep inside of you. And Dr. Steven, you might say, well, I can justify all day long that Franson Family Chiropractic and building this thing on my ego actually got me to the level of success I needed to get to. And you could argue that all day long. And it's possible that was maybe what was your story, and it was redeemed. Clearly, it's been redeemed, and you're paying you're paying the price for it now by having to tell people over and over all about it. So there's a cost, but you've stewarded well the message because you have the lesson. And from the lesson came the playbook. From the playbook, it's distributed to the people, and the people hopefully execute the playbook, and they get a better practice because of it. It came from that. But you wouldn't have been able to release it had you not gotten that brokenness, right? Had you not had to humble yourself and come to a place where you had to come to the end of yourself. So the analogy that I use, Dr. Stephen, I'll share this, is the analogy of metamorphosis, which, if you look at a butterfly starts as a caterpillar, and there's nothing wrong with being a caterpillar, right? Caterpillars are amazing. God made caterpillars. My kids love seeing caterpillars, collecting them in the summertime, things like that. Caterpillars have a purpose. It's just not their destiny. There's a season for you being that. There might be a season where, you were a caterpillar, but that's not ultimately what your destiny is. Your destiny is you were meant to fly. You were meant to soar. You were meant to transform into something new. And so as you look at your own story, your own life, and you break it down into the different sections of your life and your business, look at it and through that lens and say, have I truly transformed? Looking at it through my lens of attraction, or is there still a pride, or is there ego? Is that still inside of that domain of my business? Is there any area where I need to adjust in 2025 in where I could actually make some adjustments we can ascend? Going through the conversion process, looking at that specifically and saying, you know what? Is there any area of ego that's still where this business is anchored? It's tied down by this ego driven and process or procedure or belief or mindset. Go through your retention process and ask yourself the question, is there any area inside of retention where it's still ego driven, right? Are we still, is that the lid, right? We talked about the new wineskin. We're talking about, because that is old wineskin. That's not going to be able to handle the new wine. That is not going to be able to handle the increase. If you double this year, that won't be able, it will burst. It'll break. Cannot handle it. Dr. Stephen, right? You're going to drag my dead body out of underneath the high-low. Yeah.
Remember that?
No, we won't. No, we won't. You were in the corner. You were pinned in the corner. You're like, "Pat," and I'm not dying. I'm
not going to die here.
I can't. So something had to change, Dr. Stephen. So looking at your business, thinking about your life, asking yourself the question, where am I showing up? Where's my ego, my pride right now showing up? Where is it leading me into the corner? I love how you said that. If you feel cornered, you're pinned in the corner, check the ego.
So I don't want to leave people here with, oh man, yeah, now thanks so much, guys. Happy Tuesday to you too, right? So now I'm driving home from work listening and being like, why do I listen to these guys? Just pissing me off right now. It's like, we don't want to leave you there, guys. We want you to know that, this is something that is, let's call it fixable, right? So we're CEOs and we're chiropractors and we love to fix things, right? So we're also DCs, we're doctors of cause, and we're just trying to get to the cause, right? So you can never correct a problem if you don't recognize there is a problem and what the cause of the problem is, right? So let's talk about how to adjust this. So the case management around this is to start with a clear vision. You need a new vision, right? So once you have a new vision of what this next iteration is, what does new wineskins mean to you? Like, where are we going? What is my destiny, right? So putting a story to that. So it's the next iteration of your business. Remember, core values don't change. Core values are a forearm tattoo. If you've done the work, core values are a forearm tattoo. Visions evolve, right? So as just God opens new doors for you, he wants you making all your big mistakes in a small room, and then he'll give you a bigger room, right? So what's the next bigger room he's got for you? Like, get clear on that. What does that look like, right? So if you have total clarity, clarity is the greatest accelerant. If you lack clarity, that's going to create friction, right? So get your vision clear for the next iteration. Then you got to look at yourself as a leader. Like, who do I need to become as a leader? What's that iteration going to call for? What muscles do I need to work on? Maybe it's this one. Maybe it's this one, guys. Maybe we're just putting our finger in that bullet wound right now and just being like, oh yeah, you feel that? This is like, maybe we're poking on that T5 spinous process and be like, see, it's that one. It's not this one, right? It's that one. Oh yeah, that's the spot, right? Maybe ego here is the inflammation for you, right? So maybe that is the point of nerve irritation and inflammation that's subluxating your growth, right? So maybe that's it. If that's it, you're welcome, right? So this conversation is for you. Let's just create that awareness around that and say, hey, I need to reconcile that, right? So I'm going to work on my ego this year. I need to get smaller relative to my team and the rest of my organization. Now, that doesn't mean you shrink. It means that you build everyone else up because it's relative to, you've got to elevate and edify your team. Your team's got to get bigger. And I don't mean by number. I mean, you need to develop your people. You need to focus on building up your people. Right. So you need to grow up and go from focusing on building your business to focus on building your people and let your people build your business. Right. So maybe that's you right now for the next level of leadership. And then it's your systems. So I know that, when I was running all the systems, the processes and procedures, right. So I was doing all if it was attraction, conversion, retention, and I was the guy in the seat, it was a freaking F-14 Tomcat, right? So, and I was in there just taking them down, right? So it's just like, that was awesome. And then when I started my associate doctor program, I started folding in new pilots and took Franson out of that F-14. And next thing you know, there's 2, 3, 4, 5 pilots into it. And I'm like, why aren't they getting the same outcomes and the results? I'm literally telling them what to do and what to say. What I recognized was that F-14 was built for Franson. It was built for me. Mm-hmm. And it flew straight and true. As long as I was in the seat, it was just so ego. Like what I recognized was God only makes geniuses, and what I had to do is I had to create a more scalable process and system so that the next 35 associate doctors could thrive regardless of their cognitive profile or personalities or how persuasive and influential were. We had to create a system that was based on empathy and empathetic conversion as opposed to persuasion and influential leadership, right? You can learn how to be empathetic. You can learn a system. So we had to upgrade our system and turned it into an F-16, right? When you have an F-16 and you have the right pilots and you just keep putting those great A players in there, you can teach them how to fly, right? So it was upgraded in the system, and then it was the training of those systems. So we had to have the right people and making sure that we built out an A-class team and professionalized the business now that we've operationalized it. And then we had to focus on development and training and investing in developing our people so that we could have a more scalable and durable organization. And it was less and less and less and less about me and more and more about the chiropractic, not the chiropractor. It was more about the adjustment and not the adjustor. And all of our energy went into educating people on the principle of chiropractic and making sure that they were focused on what it meant to be under regular chiropractic care, not my care, under regular chiropractic care. And we built up a team around that principle, that concept, so that F-16 was exactly the next iteration of the business. And our focus became, let's create a more scalable, more durable organization. And I needed to get smaller while the business got bigger, right? So, because at the end of the day, Dr. Pete, what was good for your ego is just bad for your business.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.